All right, peace. How is everybody doing today on this Monday? So, we are officially in the season of Aries. The sun has moved into the sign of Aries, and this is the perfect time to talk about spiritual attacks and warfare. Why? Because Aries is the sign of the warrior. So, I wanted to talk about what is spiritual warfare, what are the effects and symptoms, signs that you're under some type of spiritual attack, and give you some suggestions on things that you could do. So, what is spiritual warfare? What are spiritual attacks? So, spiritual attacks are basically negative energy, entities, intentions, or spirits that are directed at a person, a place, or even a family that can be causing you harm. I meet a lot of people who come to me with various issues, and a lot of times at the heart of what's causing these issues is some form of spiritual attack. So, how do you know if you are under spiritual attack? What are some symptoms, some signs that you can be dealing with a spiritual attack? Well, if you don't do spell work or ritual work, let's start with some of those signs. So maybe you recently feel like you just had a stroke of bad luck. And you feel like things have just suddenly started to go wrong. So your car broke down, you lost your job, just one thing after the other seems to keep happening. Sometimes that's because of some form of spiritual attack. You suddenly got sick out of the blue. It could be something that you like a pre-existing condition. It also could be something that wasn't pre-existing and you feel ill. You go to the doctor. They can't seem to get a handle on it. Sometimes you'll get sick and they won't really be able to diagnose you. So you'll go because you're not feeling well and you'll go to the hospital, you'll go to the doctor, they'll run tests, and they really won't be able to give you a definitive answer on why you're falling sick. Sometimes it's because you're under some type of spiritual attack. Another symptom of spiritual attack is the sudden onset of a lot of weight. You gain 20, 30 pounds rather quickly. Sometimes that's a sign that you're under some type of spiritual attack. Now, these things, like just gaining weight in itself, is not a sign of a spiritual attack. But when it's accompanied by these other symptoms and signs, sometimes you need to look and see if you're under some kind of spiritual attack. Because sometimes when people curse you, that is the way that it begins to impact you. The person will put on a large amount of weight in a short amount of time. Sometimes the opposite could be true, depending upon the type of spiritual attack, and especially like attacks that deal with and tranquil spirits. Sometimes you will lose a lot of weight rather quickly, and not the good type of weight loss. Like you'll lose a lot of weight and you'll look sickly and you won't feel well. If you feel really drained of energy and you're always fatigued all the time and you can't seem to get a handle on it, sometimes that's a sign of a spiritual attack. Sudden depression, being all of a sudden you just are struck with this depression, or you're stuck with a lot of negative thoughts and you feel like, sometimes you can feel like you're having a mental breakdown. And sometimes that is a result of certain types of spiritual attacks. Okay. Another sign of spiritual attacks could be like an emotional breakdown too, where you're overcome with so many negative emotions and you can't seem to pull yourself out of it. Sometimes that's a sign of a spiritual attack. Okay. Now, if you're the type of person who does spell work, maybe you've been burning your candles and your candles keep going out. You light it up, the candle go back out. You light it up, the candle go back out. Sometimes that's a sign that you're under some type of spiritual attack or something is opposing the work that you're doing. If you're burning candles and you notice there's a lot of black smoke coming from the candle, or if you burn candles like this one right here, visual style candle, and the candle is like black soot collects on the candle, especially if there's a lot of darkness on the candle, you may be under some type of spiritual attack. Okay. So, what are the different types of spiritual attacks? Well, there are a lot of ways that people can attack us spiritually. And one of the easiest ways that people can attack you is through the tongue. We have power in our tongue. In the Bible, it says that life and death is spoken in the tongue. So one of the easiest and one of the most common ways that spiritual attacks can be deployed against a person is through the tongue, by people speaking very negatively of you or gossiping about you, maybe even cursing you with their words. Things like, she ain't never gonna be shit. She ain't never gonna have nothing. I don't like her. That type of stuff. Depending upon how powerful that person is that's speaking these things, how many people is this, a group of people that are contributing to this type of energy that's being directed at you, and how much do you protect yourself? Okay. All of that is going to dictate how aggressive that attack is going to be against you. But people speaking things is one of the fastest ways to attack you. Also, people praying things against you. Sometimes people don't hold positive thoughts for us, and prayers can go in reverse. So sometimes people are praying against you in the spirit world. I don't want you to have nothing, So it's one way I see this happen a lot too, is when you leave someone and, a relationship separates, whether it's friendship or a romantic relationship. And one of the people is, wishing that the other person don't do well, or wishing that they don't find anyone else, or sometimes even wishing death on you. But people wishing things upon you. Remember, our words, our thoughts, they are magic. They are energy. We are energy being. So in order to do magic, people, and I have to explain this to people sometimes, because they'll get a reading and I'll see that they're under some kind of spiritual attack, and they're thinking like, well, such and such doesn't do witchcraft. She's not at the occult store. Well, maybe she's not. Maybe she's at home sitting there praying against you. Maybe she's at home holding negative intention and will towards you, and sending that energy out, sitting at home thinking about you obsessively, thinking negative thoughts about you, feeling negative emotions and attributing to you. Depending upon how powerful that person is and how well protected you are, is going to dictate how aggressive that negative energy or that spiritual attack is going to be against you. Another powerful type of spiritual attack is evil eye. You hear people talk about this all the time. Energy can be sent through the eyes. Remember, the eyes are the window of the soul. So a lot of times when you think of evil eye, it could be jealousy, it could be envy, or just hatred. And people are holding these energies and sending this energy out to you through the eyes, through looking. A lot of people suffer evil eye attacks from being on social media. That's one good way to get evil eye attack. And you really don't know who's watching you and viewing you on your YouTube, on your Instagram, on your Facebook, on your Twitter, and, so on and so forth. So people can look at your pictures and look at your post and send out negative energy through their eyes and curse you with that evil eye curse. People can actually do candle work. Burning, one good way to curse people is burning black candles on them. Okay. People will do things like take your picture to a graveyard and bury it. Okay. Put you inside jars, sour jars and things like that, or put, bindings on you is another type of spiritual attack. Well, a person will restrict your movement and try to bind you either to them or hold you back from something. It's a type of spiritual attack where you're being held back or bound to them. A binding to someone is to prevent you from leaving. Okay, that is a form of spiritual attack because it hinders you. The intranquil spirit, which I talked about a minute ago. Tranquil spirit is a wrathful spirit that has been deemed to basically roam the earth, right? And so people will petition and pay these spirits spiritually, to go and basically attack someone. They do this a lot. You'll see a lot of tranquil spirit work for people trying to bring back lovers, people that have left them and they want to bring them back. They want to return them to them. So they'll send in tranquil spirit. And the way that the tranquil spirit works is it will really attack you and destroy your life and break down your will until that person comes back. Okay. So that's another form of spiritual attack. People can do things like confusion spells against you. And one thing about spiritual attacks is they work first on the mind. Okay. Even when you're under like a demonic attack where there may be a demonic entity or a malphallic spirit that either could be in your home or somewhere that you visit, or even maybe attached to you, or it could be attached to someone that you're around. Sometimes we have people in our lives who have demonic entities or malphallic spirits and energies, maybe even muertos, which are spirits of the dead, who are attached to them. And when you interact with that person, talk to that person on the phone, go visit them, have sex with them, date them, that energy starts to get into your life and starts to attack you. So that's another form. Another form of spiritual attack can also happen from relationships. And this is our like vampiric attachments, which to me is still like a form of spiritual attack, because these entities will attempt to attach to you and then drain you of your life force energy, which will leave you sick, leave you feeling lethargic and weak, and can drain you of energy that you need to manifest things. So things in your life can start to go wrong. Your finances can start to go wrong. Your health can start to go wrong. And being fed off like that can also cause you to have mental issues, emotional issues as well, because your chi, your life force energy, is being blocked, and it begins to then shut down different chakras. Okay. So that's another form of spiritual attack through vampiric attachment or spiritual attachment. Okay. Hexes. A person can hex you. A hex is a type of spell that you do when you want to contain a person, right? Usually restricts them. Not necessarily like a binding, but a type of curse that kind of holds a person back, and the person is stuck in this really bad position or stuck in this really bad space. But one thing about spiritual attacks, oftentimes you will know it's a spiritual attack and not just a run of bad luck, because it'll last for a while. Okay, that's another way to tell. And they'll be accompanied by these other signs and symbols. Another way to know that you may be dealing with a spiritual attack too, if you start having a lot of bad dreams. Okay, start having, a lot of dreams about negative things happening, or seeing negative spirits in your dreams, or even seeing people attack you in your dreams. Pay attention to that. If you see an attack, whether somebody's just fighting you, or somebody you feel like someone holding hostility against you, or again, you're just having bad dreams, nightmares all the time, that can be a sign that there's a negative entity or a spiritual attack being done against you. So what can you do about spiritual attacks? First, you want to be sure if you're being attacked spiritually. So this is when divination comes in. This is when it's a good time to consult spirit, do readings, to find out, hey, am I really being attacked spiritually? Because if you are, then there's going to be some steps that you're going to want to take. The first thing is you're going to want to protect yourself. And that's something I always tell people when they ask me, like when they first started doing spiritual work, magical work, and they're like, what kind of work should I do? You should always, the most important thing, if you don't do anything else spiritually, is protect yourself. Because there's a certain amount of spiritual attack that we will be under if you are a person that carries a certain amount of light. Okay. And this type of attack may be coming more from entities and not necessarily directed from a person. Not to say that these spirits and entities and demons don't work through people, because they do. But it won't be a situation where a person is just using an entity to attack you or a demon to attack you. It'll be the opposite. It'll be that this entity, this force, is attacking you, and it's finding people that are open around you, people that can be manipulated, people that can be ridden, and that they can influence to attack you. So in all honesty, the frequency that we are in right now, the way that the world is, because there's so much darkness. We're still coming out of the Kali Yuga, which is a period of cleansing and purification. We have to understand that Earth fell in its vibration. And when it did that, a lot of negative, malphallic, and I'll use the word demonic loosely, demonic entities, dark entities, inhabit the Earth plane. These entities oftentimes are not wanting to leave Earth. Okay. They've made a home here and they're comfortable here. So as Earth is raising its frequency into the fourth, it's in the fourth dimension, moving into the fifth, there's a lot of entities and spirits that will not be able to inhabit the Earth if Earth raises its vibration past where it can exist. So these entities are trying to resist this. And one way to do that, because one thing that's causing Earth to raise its frequency is light workers. And I use that term loosely. Light workers are people who do spiritual work. If you're watching me, more than likely you're someone, whether you call yourself a dark worker or a light worker, you're working with spiritual energy and you're helping to, just by doing your own spiritual work for yourself, whether you do work for other people or not, you carry a certain frequency, a certain energy of light that helps the Earth to make the transition to raise the vibration. Because in order for Earth to raise her vibration, we have to raise ours. And a part of the force that helps that, along with the planets that are going through these transits and different things like that, and certain beings that are coming here to Earth to help us evolve, we're being given more light. And the more light that we're receiving, the more power we're receiving, the more spiritual attack you may find yourself dealing with. Okay. It does come with the territory. It really does. And so even mundane people don't sometimes realize that they're on a spiritual attack. They've went and they dated somebody who has some type of negative spirit or energy on them or around them. Or they go and somebody is mad at them and curses them, because people will do that. Believe me, people will jump bad and get mad at you and go start buying candles or even start hiring people. Now, I don't curse people. Okay, people, there's no one that can say, I paid Crystal to curse somebody for me, because I don't do that. I'm the person that people come to break curses, to protect them from spiritual attacks and spiritual warfare, to cleanse, to heal, and I'm more of like helping you pick up the pieces after everything fell apart. So we're doing a lot of resuscitation work, a lot of rehabilitation type of spiritual work. That is really my forte. Yes, I can do anything spiritually, and people hire me to do different types of things. But the majority of my work, the bulk of my work, is surrounded around the things that I just explained to you. So if there's somebody who could tell you about spiritual warfare and spiritual attacks, it would be me. Okay. And I have learned from experience. Yes, I have learned from some of the best warriors. I've met some of the most powerful spiritual warriors out there. I have met some of the most powerful teachers. But there's certain things you ain't going to learn until you go through it. Okay. And true warriors, true spiritual warriors have to learn is on-the-job training. Okay. We don't get to do like Neo did and go into a simulation with Morpheus and learn how to battle in simulated realities. No, we learn how to battle because we get our ass kicked here on the earth plane. We have to figure that shit out. We have to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and strengthen ourselves and take a couple blows. You know, you can't really be a spiritual warrior if you can't take a couple blows and hits. Okay. So a lot of what people, depression, dark energy, dark moods, you just, like I said, you lost your house, you lost your job, you had a car accident, your boyfriend left you, just this string of things just seem to be happening. And no matter what you do, you can't just seem to pull it together. You might be under a spiritual attack. So the first thing, like I said, you want to do is protect yourself. Do protection work, okay? You want to work with deities that are going to fight for you. A deity that most people can work with, even if they're not well versed in spiritual warfare and they're not dealing with a lot of things in the ATR, is like Archangel Michael would be a good deity, right? He is a warrior. He's the head of the archangels, and he is the warrior of the archangels, okay? So you can call on him for spiritual battle. If you do work in the ATRs, working with deities like Oya, she's a warrior. Ogun, he's a warrior. Most spirits can fight for you, but there are certain spirits that are there because they are warriors. Now, if you're a child of Oshun and you work with Oshun can protect you and Oshun can fight for you. There are aspects of Oshun that are more warrior-like than necessarily one to do a lot of love work, okay? So any deity or spirit, for that matter, can protect you. But like I said, there's certain deities that are there for protection. That is what they do, right? So you may want to go to them because that's their forte. Deities like Sekhmet, who, when you're dealing with strong opposition, you can call upon Sekhmet. But you want to start to do protective work. You want to do things like burning protective candles and maybe even doing protective baths and things like that, doing rituals with certain deities and energies that are going to help to protect you. You can do protection jars for yourself. I used to do this ritual where I would, you could either put they call it a mirror box, and put yourself inside the mirror box, or put yourself in between two mirrors and do this thing where you shield yourself. Okay. That's like it's protective, but it also reflective and helps to reflect back on to whoever is sending, the energy to you away from you. Okay. So you can do things like that. Protective prayers are good, but I'm gonna be honest with you, if you're under a heavy spiritual attack, you're probably going to need to do a lot of spiritual work. And just doing one candle, one ritual may not be enough. If you're under a spiritual attack and it's more like spiritual warfare, then you're gonna need to basically outwork the person that's working against you. Or if it's an entity or a deity, you're going to need to call on a spirit or entity as powerful or more powerful than that deity. You can start working with your herbs. And too, like when I say burn your candles, you want to do more than just burn a candle. White candles are good for protection. Black are good for protection, but that's a very strong protective kind of energy. You may even start to do like repelling kind of work. Red candles are for like fast protection. When you need like some emergency protection or whatever, you can burn a red candle. And you want to add protective herbs like burdock root, and agrimony is a good protective herb. Let's see what else. There's so many different protective herbs. Wormwood is a good protective herb. Mugwort will also protect you. There's a lot of good protective herbs. What's the name of the herb that stinks? Valerian root. Oh my God, it smells so bad. But it's very protective. And you can also use that to take things off, because after you protect yourself, and you want to do these things in the order that I'm telling you. So first you want to start to protect yourself more. Then you've got to break the curse, the spell, the energy that's been sent to you, right? Clean it off, reverse it. You can do reversal work. If somebody has just sent you something, like an actual person, you can reverse it. Now, you can't reverse the spirit. So if somebody has petitioned a deity to attack you, you got to banish that spirit. You got to banish the spirit, get the spirit away from you. Whatever energy or curses that has been put on you, you got to break that, break the curse. You can't cleanse a curse away. You cleanse yourself after you break the curse. You have to break it. Spell breaker work. Herbs like stinging nettles can work for reversing. So if someone has sent something to you, you can reverse it and send it back to the sender with stinging nettles. And if you use stinging nettles and it was an actual person who is behind it, pay attention to what happens to the people around you, because stinging nettles has a way of, when it says sting, they mean that. When it goes back to the person, they're stung. And usually they'll start acting out, or something will happen to that person bad, and you'll hear about it, and it'll be the spirit's way of letting you know that was the energy that went back, because it does go back, and it hurts when you send it back with the stinging nettles. So you can work with stinging nettles to reverse. Most herbs, at least in hoodoo, it's like things. So herbs that you can use to curse, you can also use to protect. They work the same way. Just your intention is what makes it either protect or curse, okay? But you want to break it. So spell work, ritual work with spirits, deities that break curses. Black candles can help to break a curse. White candles can help to break a curse. Like I said, working with certain herbs, doing your reversing baths and your spell breaker baths. You can create baths. And I actually recommend, because doing these things in threes, like a bath, a ritual, and even smudging will also help too. You can smudge with your dragon's blood, which is very good. And, bringing that to actually clear your energy. So you want to protect, you want to break the spell, break the curse, banish the spirit or the entity, if that's what is attacking you. And then you want to cleanse. Okay. And like I said, cleansing things like smudges and baths, and you want to be consistent, and you may have to do these things several times in cycles. Okay. And the thing about protection, once you've been under attack, don't let your guard down. Once you get things under control, maintain your protection. Okay. Maintain it, be consistent with it. Okay. In the beginning, you may need to do a lot more protection. And after you get to a certain point, you may be able to lessen how often you do it, but you want to be consistent in doing it, because a lot of times if you don't continue to protect yourself, whatever it was that was attacking you, whether it's a person, unless you've reversed enough to where they hurt and they're like, I'm not gonna bother her no more. Sometimes people are tenacious, and sometimes you have long-term enemies, people who will fight you to the end. You know what I'm saying? Still be fighting you years and years later. You're like, ain't you tired? Okay. So maintaining that protection is key. But like I said, this is a season in the times that we're in, where a lot of things that are going on with people, especially sensitive people, people who are empaths, people who are telepaths, people who are mediums, and have spiritual gifts. A lot of times we experience a lot more spiritual attack than other people. But even people who aren't into spiritual things, a lot of times they're under some type of attack and don't know it. People will be doing things to you and you don't even know it. Like, this is a spiritual world that we live in, and all these occult stores that's popping up everywhere. Believe me, people are going there and they're buying things. And sometimes people are not necessarily righteous in what they do to you. You know what I'm saying? As far as being, having justly done what they done. Now, sometimes you need to attack somebody. Sometimes you need to, give them a spiritual gut blow or whatever. But sometimes these people are just in their panties. They need to go heal. They need to go get their shit together. And instead, they rather take it out on you. And like I said, one of the easiest and fastest ways and most often ways that people attack others is through the tongue. The tongue is very powerful. Now, are you spiritually attacking yourself? Are you speaking negativity into your own life? That could also be a reality. Sometimes we are the cause of the curse that we're putting on ourselves through a lot of negative self-talk. So be mindful, and don't do it jokingly, because sometimes, we say some things about ourselves or say things in jest, not realizing what we just spoke upon ourselves. And other people can be doing that to you as well. So be mindful of that. Stay protected. I actually give a class on like how to do all these different types of spiritual protection. So I'm not going to go deep into how to do these types of things. You can do a little bit more research, or you can contact me. Or if you think you're under spiritual attack and you need somebody to help you do the ritual work, or you want to get a reading to see if you are under spiritual attack, you can reach out to me. My website is www.enchanteddivas.com. I'll put it somewhere either in the intro or in the description. And I wanted to keep this video short, but I felt like this is something that needed to be talked about. Oh, the other type of spiritual attack. I'm looking at some notes I got right here. Aggressive domination work. This is something that people do to people that are trying to control and dominate them. And sometimes people use very aggressive, dark work to get that done. And what it feels like, and ultimately what it is, it basically breaks the person's will down, which is a type of spiritual attack. You see this a lot with people who are trying to force relationships, or want to force a certain type of relationship, or wants to force a person to do certain things within a relationship. They'll start to do heavy domination work. Or head work on you, work specifically on your mind. Like people will burn candles to put suggestions in your mind. And sometimes that is like a spiritual attack upon the person too. Sometimes people do attack you through the head, and they'll burn those skull candles with the intention of attacking you mentally and attacking your head as well. So yes, you want to know if you're under attack, find out what they're doing, how they're attacking you, so that you best know how to break it, remove it, and defend yourself against it, okay? All right, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. If you need some help, reach out to me. If not, don't play with the spiritual warfare. I'm telling you right now, if you don't know what you're doing, you may not want to start trying to, because some people think I'm going to attack them back. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm not saying that you do, because that's a part of spiritual warfare. Sometimes when you start defending yourself, it does throw back at the other person, but you want to make sure that you know what you're doing. Okay? You want to make sure that you know what you're doing. And you want to make sure that you properly protect yourself before you start doing stuff like that. All right? All right, peace.